my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about some of the books that I want to read in 2024. I would actually like to succeed with some of my TBRs this year, and I have a lot of books from last year's TBRs that I want to finally read this year, so I'm going to keep this video to 4 books. I will have the content warnings for these books linked down below in the description, and let's go ahead and get into it. First up is Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. Family Lore follows one of our main characters who is able to predict the day that people will die, when she decides that she wants a living wake that will bring both her family and her community together. Family Lore takes place in the span of 3 days prior to this wake, and traces the lives and the history of the women of this family. It's been a while since I've read this author, but there really hasn't been an Elizabeth Acevedo book that I haven't really loved, or at least really enjoyed. So when I saw that Family Lore was out, I knew that I needed to haul it, and now I need to read it, and the main reason that I do want to read this book is because it is written by Elizabeth Acevedo. But it also sounds really interesting, especially with the magical realism mixed in. So I'm really excited to see how this book utilizes that, and I'm also just excited to learn more about these characters and their stories. I have read some mixed reviews on this book, but I figured that it's worth a try, and hopefully it works out like the others have. Next up is Her Radiant Curse by Elizabeth Lim. This follows our main character who is cursed with a serpent's face after her father offers her as a sacrifice to the demon witch, making her the opposite of her beautiful sister, who is the only person who doesn't see her as a monster after the curse. When her sister is going to be married to the winner of a contest, she is the only person who is able to defend her against the cruelest of her suitors, ultimately becoming his target in the process. The Six Crimson Cranes duology by Elizabeth Lim is just one of my favorite duologies of all time. And we get a glimpse of this story in there, and that has only made me more excited for this book. There are a lot of things about that duology that were incredibly compelling, but this character and her story certainly was one of the top ones. And I'm excited to not only read more of this story in this book, but also just see more of the world, because I really love this world, and I love and adore its depiction of magic. I haven't always loved the fight scenes in Elizabeth Lim books, which is something that I am kind of worried about with this one, because there is like the battle royale and the contest and everything. But there were quite a few fight scenes that I really loved in The Dragon's Promise, so I'm really hoping that that means we're on like an upward trajectory when it comes to those. Next up is If Tomorrow Doesn't Come by Jen St. Jude. This follows our main character who has a lot of secrets and has an undiagnosed clinical depression. On the day that she plans to end it all, the world discovers that it only has 9 days left to live before an asteroid destroys it. So our main character decides to try her best to make it through these 9 days as to not cause any more pain to her best friend and family. And with the time that she has left, she finds herself willing to do anything to save the one she loves and also herself. This book sounds like it's going to be painful for me, which is what I want from it. Like, I love that. Like, I want this book to make me cry and emotionally destroy me to the extent that I won't be able to look at it on my shelf for a while. It also just sounds really good and emotional and full of hope in dark times. It's also about queer first love and mental health, and I just feel like I am really going to love this book. And finally is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. The Poppy War is a historical military fantasy inspired by China's 20th century with some magic and treachery involved. And it follows our main character who passes the Empire's test to find talented youth for the academies, much to the surprise of all of the officials and also everyone else, as she is a war orphan. This leads her to an elite military school where she is targeted by her classmates for the color of her skin, her gender, and her poverty. And it's also where she discovers that she has a lethal and unearthly gift that if she masters, it can mean so much more than just surviving school. Babel is currently on my winter TBR, but I want to read this trilogy too, because as I mentioned in that video, I have heard just way too many good things about this author and her books to just keep hauling them without reading them. I also feel like I really may love like magical historical war stories, which would make sense because I love court politics and I feel like there's some overlap between the two and just like similar scheming and strategy involved. So I want to test out that theory, but there's also just a lot of hype around this trilogy in general. So despite the outcomes of my test, I just want to read this trilogy because it's supposed to be really good, and it probably will be. And I am very much looking forward to finally diving into this at some point this year. Okay, so those are all of the books in my 2024 TBR. kind of. They're the ones for this video. My 5-star predictions are honestly kind of all of them, but also like a little bit extra for her Radiant Curse and if tomorrow doesn't come. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!